T'as-tu trompé dans ton chocolat chaud?
Pas encore. Je vais faire ça. Oh oh.
Trop de chaud?
Est-ce que t'as des... Je vois de la queue qui bat. Et t'as volé ta chaise?
Non, elle est juste partie. C'était une merde.
Merci.
Petite caquette. Ils sont vraiment très bons.
Ouais. Excellent. Mais c'est mes biscuits.
T'as une place là? Continue. Il y a eu le changement d'heure en Europe, dans certains pays, fait que je sais pas si tout le monde va être fucké pour avoir personne pendant mon stream. Parce qu'en ce moment, il y a juste moi.
Ah. Arrête. Grosse talente, elle veut juste s'enfuir.
Je vais te la paix. Des fois, son petit blanket. C'est son blanket du bébé. Parce que c'est un bébé.
On peut peut-être s'enfuir cependant.
Il y a tellement les chats sur ce blanket là, c'est une forêt là. Les chats. Ils sont drôles. Oh, il y a une deuxième personne. C'est qui? C'est qui?
up.
Mikey! Hi! I'm finally at the rehab, but I'm kind of freaked out. Oh no! I'll be in and out during this time. Okay.
Oh, scotch. Il n'y a pas de place pour toi là-bas.
Cool, tu m'as bien installé en plus.
Il y a ta sœur. Je vais aller derrière moi.
Tu penses? Je vais mettre ma couverte quand même au cas où.
Oh, je coupe.
Tu veux aller là? Qu'est-ce que tu fais? Qu'est-ce que tu fais, Lucia?
C'est pas ce qu'elle fait, c'est pas ce qu'elle fait.
Ça a l'air super confortable, là. Come on. Mademoiselle la pire. Ton petit blanket? Es-tu content? Bon, bon, bon. Hey, Ellen, hi. Yeah, I think it's a somewhat quiet start because a lot of European countries have done the daylight savings thingamajig like last weekend. Salut Chiro! Tu l'as vu? T'as vu Chiro? C'est
Je me suis même pas rendu compte qu'il était rendu là.
Salut Chiro Beneno! Petit pet égalipette. Ouais. Salut! Oh! Ça a l'air très difficile d'être une petite Chiro. I was up early as there was a scrapbooking supply garage sale that my mom wanted to go to, so I was the driver. Found a few things for our album for— oh, that's awesome! And you never know, like with scrapbooking supplies, there might be a few art supplies in there. Sorry. There were a few things. I found a few nice brush holders and a traveler's notebook cover. Ooh! That I want to make some watercolor inserts for. Wow! That's a good find. I hope everything was priced at garage garage sale prices. No, am I to say no to 5 rolls of washi tape for $1? Depends on the brand of washi tape, but yeah, that's a good deal. I wonder what kind of story there is behind that sale. Yep, the cover was like $2, and really, I think it was a bunch of local scrapbookers that got together. I also think some dealers were there getting rid of old stock. Oh, interesting. I even found a brass stencil that's going to be perfect for swatch pages. Ooh! Hey, Lana! Hi! Hello! Is it like a genuine traveler's notebook cover? Like the leather kind? Or a similar concept but other maker? Oh, pauvre petit bit d'or. It's a similar but different maker. Cute unicorn and oh! All in all, I spent like $40 and I ended up having to go out to the car like 3 times between the 3 of us. Went to unload and go back for more. Oh wow. That's great. That's fun. I keep having, like last stream we were talking about dreams. There's one dream that I make that has quite a recurring element of me being someplace and finding like a vintage watercolor palette. And I'm like, oh my god, that's awesome, yay! And I turn on and there's like another one and another one. And I keep finding all kinds of vintage watercolor palettes that are not necessarily based on things that I've seen. So I think my brain kind of makes it up as it goes. Most of them don't really make sense once you kind of wake up and think about it. You're like, wait, that's stupid. But yeah, and then I'm always like, oh no, there's more and more and more, and I don't know where to put them. Otto! Hello! I didn't miss much. I think a lot of people are going through the, time clock change, like you. And I think that's gonna take a few weeks for people to adjust to the time of things. I always look for vintage art supplies when I'm out in antique stores. I only find a few things here and there, though, and you gotta hope that they're a fair price too if you find something. Because I see some vintage palettes online that are unusable, like they're completely rusted and they're interesting, but like unusable, and people still want like insane prices for them. There's teeny tiny Shiro outside. She's all like loafed up. This is kind of like the window. And I'm like, oh, I wish I could let you in, little baby cat. Also, go home. I found a set of old chalk pastels once for like $10. Turns out they are made in France. France. Are still made and are kind of expensive. Not Sennelier, but another brand. But quite nice to work with. Oh, that's awesome. You know, kind of like estate sales and all that. But thing is like my personal experience of yard sales and whatnot is that they've really changed in like 30 years. Used to be that like people would be, you know, getting rid of stuff they didn't use anymore and all that, but everything was generally nice. Like you could find nice things and at, you know, a fair price, but now it's kind of moved in two direction. Everything has gone pricier, and a lot of yard sales are full of junk, like plastic toys, kids' clothes. And that's why I always open boxes and tins when I'm in antique stores. You never know what's in there. That's a very good point. Yep. I feel people buy more junk now in general and don't look for quality. Well, I mean, quality is hard to come by too. Like, say you want to buy a toaster. You have like 10 different toasters to choose from with varying prices, and the price is not necessarily an indicator of quality, and it's just messy. It's a bit. When I was growing up, there used to be every Sunday there would be a very big, like, kind of communal yard sale. The way it was set up, it was in a parking space, and on Saturday or maybe Sunday really early, they would set up a bunch of tables, and you could call in advance and buy a spot. It wasn't very expensive, but you would get a table, and then you could go set up your table, and people would all like converge there on Sunday, and you could sell your stuff, like really like a big get together yard sale where it's you know, tables, a bit like a convention. And I went there every Sunday, and I found such really, like, I remember seeing some really cool stuff there. And at Value Village too, but now Value Village is a bit sad, and the yard sales are really kind of sad. My mother bought an iron a few years ago, 90 euros, and the thing got fire. Oh. The worst thing is when you're in a Goodwill or Value Village and there's a decor item or whatever, and you flip it over and they've put the sale stickers over. Yeah. Or you go through like clothing and you see like Shein labels and that kind of stuff. I have one question about car boot sales. Why on earth do they start so early? Because yeah, flea markets. Upon experience, which is, I know my dad, a lot of collectors will go really early so they can avoid the crowds and possibly find some like elusive rare stuff. That's why they start so early. Most people will get there much later, like at a decent time in the morning. Well, during the summer, I would suspect it's before it gets hot. I mean, that has never stopped anyone that I've seen. People would get umbrellas and parasols and, like, do their best. But collectors are the first ones there at, like, 6 a.m. And they won't even let you unpack sometimes. Like, they will try to peruse what's in your, in your car. Especially if you have stuff like vinyls or, like collectibles. All the good stuff is usually gone by 10 a.m. All the collector stuff. Well, I mean, nowadays I think so. Back then, all the collector stuff was gone, like, really early. But you could still find, like, great things all day long, depending on what you consider great, We would often stop at yard sales when we would have our summer vacation in Maine when I was a kid. And I remember a couple of finds that we did in yard sales, like for a couple of dollars. I remember one that I had found was a Swatch watch. Just a watch, but still like a genuine Swatch for like $2. And my mom had found Le Creuset pots for like $10. Like someone she was like, oh, how much for the Creuset cauldron? And the person was like, I don't know, $10. It was a marriage gift and we've never used it. And my mom was like, okay, I'll take it. You don't really get that anymore. Like people who sadly have no idea what they've been having there for sale and will accept very, very good prices for stuff. I've seen it and I've been that person. Oh, you have Breyers in there? Mind if I... See? Yeah, my dad has always been really interested in vinyls and CDs and whatnot. So whenever he would get a table, he would always struggle because all the collectors, like flies, would come hovering around his car when he was trying to set up, and usually he would sort out his vinyls like, let's say, okay, this box that I want to sell is mostly classic music. This box is rock music, whatever. And the collectors, they just start like messing everything up, and he was just like, just let me set up, okay? I loved going there. Like, I remember like finding Calvin and Hobbes books for like $1. Like, really neat stuff. You could go there with $5 in, 20 years ago and find stuff. No, 25 years ago? Yeah. I miss those moments of buying something, quietly keeping my excitement to myself. And when the deal is done, I'm like, start the car before they figure out how much. Yeah, absolutely. I kind of miss those too. Used to be you could find really neat stuff at Value Village too. But now, like you've mentioned, there's a lot of dollar store stuff in there and fast fashion, like, crap. Last time I went to a Value Village was when I visited my dad, because there's one not too far from my dad. I kind of regret not going there more, because when I lived at my dad's house, it was like reasonably within walking distance, or definitely within biking distance. And I regret not going there more. Last time I went, there was one sewing machine there, and I was like, You know, it was nothing special, so, no, not great, but if I lived closer to it, I would, like, make it a weekly visit, just to, you know, people sometimes give away stuff that they don't know what it is, and that's fine, that's perfect. I would much rather that than it ends up in a bin somewhere, but, oh. I found a Breyer bowl once a few years back. He was less than $10, and all my friends were mocking me for buying it. And then as we got into the car to leave, I showed them eBay sold price. They got real quiet after I showed them. How much was it actually worth? I'm trying to figure out a drawing for a future review. I need to figure out a larger vertical drawing and a smaller horizontal drawing. About 100 US. Oh my gosh. Yep. Was your intent to keep it or to try and sell it at a better price? So my dad is retired now, and like I said, one of his hobbies, well, two of his main hobbies that I've always seen him hover around. One was, music, like not instruments, but CDs, vinyls, all that, and clocks or watches. Used to be watches, but as you get older, I think clocks are a bit easier to work with. Bye, Shiro! Because they're a bit larger. And he really enjoys, like, getting his hands on a stockpile of, someone, let's say someone is aging and they're going into a home and they need to downsize their stuff, so they're trying to rehome their collection of vinyls or whatever. And my dad tries to find a situation, and he buys the bulk of it. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. And then he has a fun week just going through that stuff and checking out what's in there and sorting it out and reselling it. Not with the intent of, making money, but just for the fun of organizing all that and then trying to find someone to take it on permanently, if I can say that. I still have him. It's from 1958 and I named him Oxford. Ah. Then I found the same bowl with slightly lighter shading a couple years later in the same location. Still cheap. Ended up trading that one for a month. Wow. Wow, they really didn't know what they had. There's a local person that I follow on Instagram, I think. And their thing is basically they go dumpster diving, but not actually in dumpsters, like more in some people's trash piles. But there are areas where, if a house goes for sale and then gets bought, and they have to empty it because the person who lived there either passed or was placed in a home, stuff like that. And like throughout the years, the dude found some really weird stuff, and not weird like worrying, but weird how did it end up there kind of stuff, like full-on silver and gold jewelry, a lot of memorabilia for things that happened here in Quebec, like the Expo 67 stuff. like all kinds of stuff, and like old phones, old iPads, computers, all kinds of weird stuff that you're like, well, I'm glad he does that, because that stuff, first of all, is still good, and then really doesn't belong in a dump somewhere. My dad does that too with model trains. He jokes that my finding Breyers secondhand and then getting them collector homes as my Breyer. Oh, I love that. But yeah, that's the same. That's kind of the same hobby. If I can, I think that constitutes a hobby, and I love that. Breyer rescue. The only Breyer I know really is the ice cream, so I'm not really versed in what those figurines are like. Are they like ceramic? And portrait orientation drawings are kind of difficult to split well, because if you want to make them into a landscape, you kind of end up with a lot of sky, and it's like not super interesting necessarily. Not the same thing at all. They're plastic for the most part, but Breyer also does the odd resin and porcelain piece. They're one of the few toys where packaging doesn't matter much. What do you mean? I'm glad they're plastic. Not the same thing meaning the ice cream. I figured. And it's great they're plastic, because that makes them less likely to break. Hey, Salome, hi! Hope everyone is doing okay. Yeah, somewhat. I hope you're doing okay too. And they're made of cellulose, so they will break down eventually. Eventually. Does that make them like more eco-friendly? Like, because they will decompose eventually? How has it been a week since clocks changing? Yeah, a lot of people seem to struggle with it. slightly more eco-friendly, just slightly. At least they're not made from fossil fuels. Yeah, I'll take it. Considering the amount of garbage toys that are made from fossil fuels. Super duper tired and been stuck in bed for 6 weeks. Oh no, that's a long time to be stuck in bed. It's for good reason though. I am pregnant. Ooh! Well, congrats. How long will you have to stay in bed? I shouldn't really be in bed at all, but the tiredness. Oh, okay. I mean that's good. That means that there's nothing like. What's the word I'm looking for? At risk. You know, sometimes people will be bedbound for a bit because the pregnancy gets a bit, you know, difficult. So if that's not the case, that's good. Oops, sorry, I keep hitting the camera with my... Didn't expect it to be so bad. I've had... Oh, ouch. A&E. What's A&E? Oh, emergency room, okay. No, that's fine. It's just like, I know there's quite a few different... Oh, didn't mean the caps. Emergency room! Okay. But the meds have stopped me throwing up. Great, because they come in those... Oh, that's not great. A friend of mine had a little one last September, and she had some hairy moments too during the pregnancy. But she and baby are well now. That's great. But yeah, that's 9 months of things that can happen. Because it's just the reality of it. Though, speaking of kids, my brother had his second kid too long ago. I think I mentioned it last week. Okay, that's good. Everything went well, the kid, the mom, they're doing great, so I'm like, okay, good. Congrats to your brother. That's his second daughter. It's kind of weird to think of like a younger brother as a dad. Like, I guess I remember when he was the baby and a toddler and all that. So it's just like, wait, what? Now you are the one spawning toddlers. Okay. Okay. My husband is dutifully repairing the utterly ruined walls. Ooh. Yeah, well, that's one thing or the other. You'll be able to have a nursery or a kids' room and a studio in the future. I'm sure that's going to be manageable at some point. Sorry. Not that will have much. Yeah, that comes with it too. Like, I think at the point where you'll be, or when you'll be able to reconsider getting a studio, that will also come with having a bit more time to do art things. For now, I think you would probably find more use in like travel kits. You know, something that you can quickly take out, spend 5-10 minutes doing like a little something, and then can easily put away. First time in my life ever I have not felt like doing art. Oh, that's weird. Not even like any kind of juice, cold juice or iced tea, or Juice I was finding too sweet, acidic, but I think I can have some. You can always dilute it with water, like really cold water and ice. I like unsweetened iced tea. Then I can sweeten it with anything I want. Yeah. And it's not that hard to do. Like, it. You can just basically leave some tea in a jar of water in the fridge overnight, and there you go. Iced tea. You just have to strain it and sweeten it if you want, but you don't necessarily have to. You can also sweeten it with like mixed juice and iced tea to have kind of a definitely improving. I made scones yesterday and dinner today, homemade pizza. So it's really hard, but I'm so glad I have to have proper cooking. That's good. I was making herbal iced tea for my friend. You just boil the kettle as you normally would and make a smaller amount of very concentrated tea. Then after a good while steeping, remove tea, add water. Yeah, that's a kind of a really good thing to do in the summer. If you want something that's, tasty but not necessarily caffeinated or like has a lot of sugar in it. Yeah, like any kind of fruit tea is, you just steep it overnight in the fridge and you strain it, and it's really refreshing because it spent the night in the fridge too, so it's really cold. I went cold turkey off caffeine, tried a caffeinated iced coffee, and it was an awful experience. Didn't sleep. Oh yeah, I've been off the bean. I used to drink like 3 cups a day. Ooh, that's a lot of coffee. I wrecked my stomach for coffee in my early 20s. I only very rarely have it now. I do have a black tea that you can It's still a horseshoe if you steep it long enough. What kind of black tea is it? I remember a coworker once that wanted to make the switch from coffee to tea, but he was looking for really strong tea, and he went to a local David's tea and asked them, what's your strongest tea? And I think the person kind of misunderstood what he wanted, because they gave him lapsang souchong, which is smoked tea. And it has a really strong taste, but it's not necessarily the strongest in caffeine. So he was he was really nonplussed. It was like, yeah, it doesn't really work. It's supposed to be extra strong, and it's, you know, not any more or less than the black tea I had before. And we were thinking about it, and then I was like, oh, I think they kind of understood just like what's the strongest taste. And he was like, oh, yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I mean, it has quite a punch, but not necessarily in caffeine, just in smell and taste. Ah, ouais. Ouais. Qu'est-ce que tu racontes, Pico? T'as-tu vu sa face? Happy once had yerba mate and was actually high. Really? Wow. Blech. David's tea. Not a huge fan. What I get is called the East Frisian blend. I buy it from Distinctly Tea here in my town. She's a tea sommelier. Yeah, I think you had sent me some samples of her tea, and they were really good. But yeah, initially when David's tea first started existing, they had a lot of really fun tea, like really interesting mixes, and it was a bit more refined, kind of. But then it kind of went this route of being trendy instead, and they have a lot of tea, like it's a bit like the junk food equivalent of tea. I often get my tea from a local place too called Camellia sinensis. And what I usually get from them is matcha, Earl Grey, and possibly some sort of rooibos herbal tea. Or mint. They have a good mint mix of peppermint and... what's the other mint? Anyway. Kuzmi tea has my favorite chai tea. Their chai is so good. right? That is the best description of David's tea. I'm glad you agree because, I'm sorry, that was really the vibe I got from them. Like, I really liked their initial releases. They were really interesting things, but then it started being more and more like, oh, and this one has little candy pieces in the shape of umbrellas in it, and like, I don't care. And a lot of them were like mostly fruits, and the taste was not amazing. And they have a lot of teas with hibiscus, which I don't like. So I just went, meh. They had some delicious ones initially. Like they had one I think was called Honey Bush. And it was rooibos and maybe another plant. And it tasted just like honey. It was amazing. They had a tiramisu one that was also amazing. It had like almonds, almond extract, rooibos, and coffee beans in it. And they had things that were kind of appealing, but at the same time not junk. And then it slowly made its way towards the more junky stuff, in my opinion. I'm barred from buying tea. We have a whole cupboard of tea, coffee, and hot chocolate because we went to some closing down sales. Ooh. I mean, you don't need to buy anymore if you already have access to that, don't you? Sounds good. I have quite a lot of tea too, but it's really boiled down to a handful of basics, but sometimes I stuck up on the basics. Like I really like hojicha. I always forget to drink it, but when I can remember to drink it, I really like it. Like I said, we have a few that are caffeine free for drinking at night, often mint. Like Earl Grey and chai. What palette will you use for it? Well, I got sent to this palette from Paul Rubens, so that's what I'm planning to use it with. I'm gonna add some birds in the sky, but I need to look up references before. It feels a bit empty, but I hope with the gradient or something I might be able to make this a bit more interesting. Earl Grey is delicious. If you can find Earl Grey cream too, that's the one I usually go to because it has a bit of vanilla in it. It's all my dad drank while I was a child. I had no idea that tea was more commonly a breakfast blend with milk. Yeah, well, a London Fog, right? A latte Earl Grey. Maybe like a sunset, sunrise, I think. Maybe. I would make it a sunrise because I feel like I've done a lot of like really dramatic lighting pieces lately, and I want to make something that's a bit more like daylight. But I could still implement like some purple at the bottom of the gradient to give that vibe. Hey, Paulo, hi. Okay, let's try this again. Hey, welcome back, Ellen. I was watching while waiting for people to show up for dinner. Ooh, what's for dinner? Of course, number one appeared for dinner, but hey, no one. What do you mean, no one appeared for dinner? It's kind of criminal at this point. Do we have to board on a plane and go kick some butts so they show up for dinner? I just made some pasta with tomato, olives, and feta cheese. Ooh, that sounds... Did you put any like olive oil in there? Like fancy olive oil? Because I know you guys have some pretty good olive oil. If I could afford a pancake, I would be right over. Yep. Of course I put olive oil. Good, good, good. Olive oil, salt and pepper. Kind of a basic... I have like 20 liters of olive oil. Is it the kind that comes in the, you know, in the tins, in the really big tins? You know, if the olive oil comes in a tin, you're not kidding anymore. This is no longer a joke. This is very serious. No, all in individual... Oh, okay. Huh. Is there a reason for that? Is it better to have it in separate bottles than one big jug of oil? Oh, Paolo, were you there in the very beginning of the stream? I had my biscotti on. I was munching on biscottis. I used to have 5-liter bottles, but they are a nuisance. A nuisance? And the oil goes rancid. Wow. 5 liters. Yeah, that's big. That's a really big jug. I think the one I get is maybe 2 liters, and it's like $35. It's not even fancy oil. It's the most it's the most light oil I can get because I use it for everything, and I don't really want to make cookies that taste strongly of olive oil, you know. So the biscotti I'm eating at the beginning of the stream, they're pistachio, orange blossom water, and cardamom. Also, my mother gives me 1-liter bottles. That's a really good gift for someone who enjoys cooking and enjoys good oil. I've been looking at recipes lately, and most American ones use avocado oil. I absolutely would not look to the American, like whether it's Canada or the US, for any kind of food related stuff. That sounds freaking awesome. It's good. Yeah, it's a really good combo. It's really delicious. Did I send you a photo of the biscotti recipe, Paulo? Or did I forget? Because it's the same recipe, but I tweak things around and I just add some, instead of the almonds I put in pistachios, instead of all the extract and the orange rind I put a bit of cardamom and like a tablespoon of orange blossom water. Well, British food is not the best reputation either. The US does some cracking barbecue. Well, they say they do, but I know I sent you the tiramisu in French, but I wonder if I sent you the photo, because the biscotti recipe is already in English. But I really like it because it's such a simple recipe, and the biscotti are really tasty. Hey, it's not a Caturday live stream if we don't talk about food at some point, right? Nope, not the biscotti. I'll send it to you, or I'll put it on the Discord. But it's so simple. Like for this variant that I made them yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind. But wet ingredients, you have eggs, sugar. The recipe says butter, but I prefer to use oil. So I had oil, eggs, sugar, and the flavoring. And then in the dry stuff, I had flour, sugar, baking powder. No, not sugar, sorry. Just flour, baking powder, the pistachios, and the pinch of cardamom. And that's it. There's like a handful of ingredients in there. I love to collect recipes, especially recipes from people. I love to share recipes because there's a lot of stuff that I like that either I can no longer eat, or that are recipes that I was lucky enough to copy from my mom before she passed. And now that her husband has kind of locked away her recipe book, we don't really have access to it as kids. So there's a few recipes like that I would prefer to, share and have, like, possibly keep them going rather than the recipes ending with me or with the stupid husband. When someone in a party says, I'm not going to give you the recipe, no, that... Ugh. Nope. Do those people exist that won't share recipes? Well, yes, kind of. I mean, it's not exactly the same situation, but the husband is like, oh, if you want the recipe, you have to come over here and look at the book. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Because you're such a nice person. Or giving you the wrong recipe. Why? Why bother? Unless that's a mistake, like, unless that's... they got confused and they sent out the wrong one, okay, sure, but... trying to keep recipes special. I feel like that's not the point. And yeah, besides, like I'm pretty sure like the recipe I have, all the recipes I have mostly, I always end up tweaking them a bit. Like the biscotti recipe, they say to use butter in it, but it's a pain in the butt to use butter because it's never if it's the season for baking, the butter will be way too hard to be able to do anything with it. So I just use oil because it's just much easier to handle. That's it. Play by these rules and go over with the camera photograph. That's definitely what I do, but I just don't want to go over there. Like I said, I was able to like years and years ago, I copied a few recipes from my mom. And I have the kugluf that my granddad used to make, and you know, all those. I feel like I was able to grab all the important recipes. The same recipe turns out a bit different depending on who makes it anyway. Yeah, exactly. Baking is a bit more exact, but you can, if you know like the few rules of substitution and how it will affect the result, you can really like modify stuff more easily. Unless you're doing like something like a souffle or something, you know, super fancy. What's a Yorkshire pudding? Sometimes I do something which I shouldn't do. Hey, welcome back, Otto! Sharing recipes is like part of the social contract. We're trying to have a dang society. Food and sharing how to make food awesome is part. I fully agree. Sometimes I do something which I shouldn't do. That is saying something like, oh, this recipe is really, really easy. Which is kind of meh. No, I think that's fine. Like, I wouldn't be offended. The worst I think that could happen if someone told me that and then the recipe was, I don't know, complex to me, I would maybe make a joke about it. But I don't feel like... I feel like it would be worse if you went the other way around. And if you were gatekeeping the recipe by going, oh, this recipe is really, really, really hard. That would be really bad. But saying that a recipe is easy, I feel like that can be motivating. Welcome back, Otto. That is my intention, but sometimes people come back and just say, oh, that wasn't easy at all, and it didn't come out like yours. Well, I mean, that's kind of a skill issue. Not on your part, but yeah. And also, I mean, it kind of sounds like you are dealing with people who could benefit from a bit more humor in their interactions. You know? Like, I feel like I would say, like, oh, I tried and it was kind of hard and didn't come out like yours, but it, you know, it was a good learning experience. I feel like there's a way to present that in a way that's, you know, a bit more pleasant. Requirements for baking, sense of humor, absolutely. Usually the recipes that I share are always heavily annotated. So I can really... Yeah, same. Like, you know, it's a recipe that's gonna turn out, you know, good because it has a bunch of annotations on it. Like, on my biscotti recipe, I have a note that says, like, the dough will be very sticky. Because I feel like that's something you like, if you can ready your mind to deal with that, it's gonna come out better than if you're surprised by it and you kind of panic. When it goes wrong, it has to be hilarious. Oh, absolutely. I don't know if it counts as baking, but I have an anecdote with my dad that still cracks me up today. But for a bit of context, my dad used to buy like those ready-to-cook pizzas at a local store. It was not a frozen pizza. It was like basically what a pizza would look like before you put it in the oven to cook. Like a dough, like all the toppings and all that. And often my dad would like add extra toppings on top so that like some leftovers wouldn't go bad. And one time he made like a mountain of a pizza. It was epic. And me and my brother, that was when me and my brother lived with my dad. And we were like, okay. And he took it up to put it in the oven, but it was in a kind of somewhat flimsy aluminum plate. Because the company that makes the pizza doesn't expect you to add half a pound of stuff on it. And the pizza went like, it flipped like, and then the momentum of that meant that the pizza landed face down on the floor, uncooked. And my dad was mad, but me and my brother were laughing so hard that we won him over and he started laughing. And everybody was laughing and it was like so silly. And he was like, okay, so he managed to pick up his pizza from the floor, you know, flip it back. And a lot of the toppings were on the floor. And he was like, So he went and he got the dustpan and he cleaned it up and he used the dustpan to like scrape his toppings off the floor. He put them back on his pizza and he cooked the whole thing and ate it. And to this day, I still find that really, really funny. He was so angry, like, that the pizza flipped, but me and my brother were laughing. Like, it was such a slapstick moment. It was so funny. Yeah, he would. I mean, you know, my dad is not squeamish, and he cleaned up the dustpan before he used it, but that was just so funny. And I mean, it's still with us, so can't have been that bad, right? I can't see that in my head. I can see why not do the exact same. Well, it seems like our dad have a lot in common, actually. That's kind of funny. My grandparents on both sides had some questionable food hygiene. I mean, and our grandparents, I mean, the food hygiene was absolutely not the same as it is now. Oh, I had the packing dream. No! But I was already on the bus and trying to get off the stuff everywhere that I had to pack. No! No! Oh, on the bus. I've never had the bus variant. Mostly I've had the you're in a hotel room and you need to pack and you need to leave the room for, 11. and you're running out of time. But in a bus, that sounds nightmarish, even more. Okay, my dad would do that too if my mom wasn't watching. It was a new twist. Do you know what could have like caused this twist on the story? Okay, well, I'm mostly done with sketching these, I guess. And I had already missed the step I was supposed to. Ah, no. It's almost stressful just to think about it. Like, even if I know it's just a dream and it's fake. Trying to think of other drawing ideas because, I mean, it's never a bad idea to have a few in the sketchbook for when you need to draw something to paint. I don't feel like I'm progressing fast enough in the sketchbook. I only have like these, and then I have. First I set up to do something on this page, but then I changed my mind and did it on these. But there's all the pages between are like empty. And I also prepped up this sketchbook with all the all the framing tape to keep the signatures together. So it's good to go, but I need to draw more stuff in it. I've only drawn what, 1, 2, 3, 4 scenes in it. Well, 5 scenes in it. Okay, not too shabby, but still. The portrait format is really stumping me. Because if you think about it, most media we consume is always on a landscape format, whether it's the TV or like videos online or even the computer screen is generally a landscape format. So I don't consume a lot of TikTok content or, you know, whatever vertical content. Go to Pinterest for portrait. Yeah, I would, but not midstream. Like I don't have the setup to check out Pinterest during a stream, but I will definitely do that after. But off the top of my head, like just like that, that's even harder. Something I like to do when I'm really stumped like that is I will like split my thumbnail in thirds like this. And then I'll try to think of one thing I want to include in the image. And it can be like, oh, I really feel like painting rocks. So I'm like, okay, rocks. Well, okay, so let's put a rock at one of these intersections. And then I'm like, okay, then what? Well, I could put my little guy on the rock. You know. Okay, well, the rock. What else? And this what else kind of method is what eventually might help me figure out a composition that I feel like is worth pushing. Okay, well, what if the rock is in the water? And like the other side of the water could be too far away. Or something like that, you know, just a basic thing. But since I have my space split in thirds, it's a bit easier to just put something down and then figure out, okay, well, I got that, but I don't like how this object is drawn. Like, oh, this is too far, so if I could do it again. So you do the same thing again, but I can decide that I put the thing closer. And oh, I could put the house there. Like, he wants to get to the house, but the house is, you know, kind of far. Stuff like that. Sorry. I hope that was somewhat in frame. Oh yeah. Don't mind me making a bracelet for. Ooh! I'm currently figuring out which of my beads glow under blacklight. Oh, that's so cool! What is it? Because it's a stone that glows under blacklight, or are they just like made to be glowy? Hey, welcome back, Paolo. Hey, Cyan, hi! There are stones that will glow under black light, but these are mostly glass beads I have. Some of them glow, some don't. She has a black light dance. Ooh! One, if I remember what an old friend once told me, he used to go to raves a lot, and he would say that the best kind of black light makeup you can get is basically any kind of highlighter, like for paper, like the neon yellow stuff. I think most of them are non-toxic too, so that's kind of easy to find, affordable, and relatively safe. Me applying watercolor to my face. Yeah, I think if you want something quick and easy, and I think the highlighter are the best option. Also, you can easily carry them in your backpack if you need to do a second pass because you've sweat out the first pass, you know. Video idea, which is the best upper rose for raves? Well, I mean, you say that, but I think that on the video I made about the neon gansai type paints, I got a lot of comments of people saying like, "Oh, that's awesome! I'm buying these for using it in the bar for the drink and draw and whatever." And people found all kinds of party people applications for those paints, and I was like, "Oh, neat! Okay, cool." I mean, I guess I'm kind of boring. All I've done with it is paint, but sure, go ahead. White ribbons colored with highlighter for hair. Yeah, or you could just, if they're bright enough, just being white will have them catch in the black light. Look at us party people. Whoop whoop. uh, but yeah, I think highlighter would be safe enough to just draw on your hair with it, and it's chances are it's gonna wash out with the next shampoo. We have a bowling alley locally that does black light nights. It's ridiculous fun. It really is. I love these. I think that's the best way to do bowling. I mean, if you're gonna go bowling, at least have it be a black light night or something. Because it's kind of extra fun. And it's at least something you can play a bit with, in the sense that you can be like, oh, I'm gonna wear my extra white t-shirt that you would basically never wear otherwise, but it's gonna be like bright glowy in there, like bright purple, or any kind of little thingamajig you can do that doesn't even show in regular lighting, but then you go under black light, and sometimes, most of the time, they have bowling balls that are like glowy too, and and the pins are glowy, and everything is glowy, and it's, I mean, anything is made better by being glowy. Here it's blacklight bowling is called Autokelaus. Sorry for killing that. Auto means glow. It is also Finnish translation of shining. So for a long time I was thinking it was horror team bowling. Oh, that would be fun too, to be honest. Can you imagine? Like the lanes have a decal that's like blood, or I don't know. All the pins have little faces on them that are horrified. When you do a strike, it makes a sound like you get from the Halloween decorations, like the witches cackling, or blood started gushing down the lane. Bowling alley or themed escape room in black light. You forgot the kitchen sink. Every time you hit the pin with the ball, it screams. Can you imagine? Like, you do a strike, all 10 pins start screaming. So I think my favorite bowling alley thing that I've seen is the one in Constantine. That was pretty cool. I think there was one in Constantine, right? Yeah, you can rent the shoes, and you can also buy earplugs at the little counter place. If you get fed up of hearing all the pins scream. Sorry. I don't think it's that funny, but it really cracks me up. Alright, I think I'm gonna end stream here for today. I lit up the big light today, and my eyes are killing me. I don't know how a light can be so bright and hard on the eyes, but at the same time not all that bright in front of me. Well, thank you so much, guys, for being here. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a good week. I hope for the people who are having a hard time with the clock change, I hope things get better. And hopefully we'll be able to stream again next weekend. Same place. I want to say same time, but we know that's not always the case. Alright. So, yeah. Have a great weekend, guys. Thank you so much for being here, and see y'all in the next one. Bye bye.